Oh yeah, look at this. I was doing some practice yesterday, trying to get into the mind of Kim Jung Gi, and I think I got it. I figured him out. I'll give myself 2 more years. I'll be able to draw just like him, because I figured it out. How he draws, how his mind works. Basically, Kim Jung Gi does not give a shit about perspective in the traditional sense. He just draws it in his brain mind. And yeah, I'm almost there. I'm almost there. Because I can basically see perspective without the grid anymore. And that's a very powerful thought, Phil. It do be that. The possibilities of this technique is endless. As you can see, I'm not even using sketches anymore. I'm just drawing it just how I see it. And this is how Kim Jong Gi does it. It's not a lot of detail, sure, but the perspective is great. That is the most important thing, you know? There we go. What else did I do? Oh, yeah. Also drew this, trying to eliminate the whole perspective thing and just draw it just how just as how I perceive it to be, just like how Kim Jung Gi does. The secret to Kim Jung Gi is each individual character in his drawing sits on a different perspective plane. They don't sit perfectly. He shifts them around. I took down notes too. What is this? 2 lines. Distance determines the blur. Yeah, something I also noticed too is the whole thing about lines is like, for example, right? If I was to draw something like this, I didn't expect this to be a lesson today, but check this out. If I were to create some blur simulated using line art, this is how you do it. I'm just going to draw some core shadows, right? Depending on how close the line is, determines how the shading is. Does that make sense? Like, for example, if the lines are drawn so close together, that means it's sharper. The blur is sharper. But if the lines are more distant with each other, that means the blur is a little bit more smoother. And that effect was actually popularized by comic book artists, and I just didn't understand it. They've been using this technique for a while, and I don't know why I haven't used this before, because this is a very, very effective technique. So I'm glad I took down notes, because if I didn't put this down, I would forget it the next day. I would forget it. So because of that, imagine if I apply that thought. Imagine if I apply the line shadow technique to this drawing right here. It would make this drawing much more alive, much more three-dimensional, if you will. All it takes is some work. There you go. Pretty cool, yeah? Just makes the drawing that much more huge. Kim Jung Gi had a photographic memory, right? No, he did not. That's the secret. That's the weird thing. He just remembers a lot of things more than most people. He is just very observant. For example, how Kim Jung Gi does it is whenever he would draw a soldier, he would just remember a helmet he saw from memory, for example, or a type of face he saw from memory, and then he applies it, like the jarhead helmet or whatever. It's all about, just like he said, gathering some references and storing it in your brain mind. And then after he draws it, he just applies story to it. This is actually what makes Kim Jung Gi separate from most artists, because everything he draws, there is a reason that they are there. Let's look at Kim Jung Gi's art. This is actually a really good example of why AI art is having difficulty training Kim Jung Gi, because Kim Jung Gi's art just has a lot of intent. Where AI art is mostly concerned with just making an art look good, the story is what lacks. That's always been a problem with AI for now. I'm sure in the future it's going to be sentient and then it's going to kill us all. But before then, they do lack intent. And the reason why Kim Jung Gi can draw this way is because he's just got a lot of human experience. Kim Jung Gi is South Korean, and he spent 2 years in the army. It's a law there. You need to be conscripted, and it's mandatory if you're South Korean. So he said in one interview that he would draw on his head and he would just remember what he saw and just draws in his head. Isn't that friggin' crazy. I'm still not over Kim Jung Gi's death. For those of you who don't know, Kim Jung Gi passed away on October 3rd, 2022. A great loss for all artists everywhere. Because before Kim Jung Gi, people would just draw just a character. Now the world knows who Kim Jung Gi was and what he does. It just completely changed the whole field. It's kind of like how in the Olympics, once somebody breaks a record in a couple of months or within a year or whatever, there's always going to be another one who's going to break that record. Another example is how do I explain it? Like once people figure out that it can be done, it will be done. You know what I mean? So it's pretty great. Oh, by the way, sorry for rambling. Hello, everyone. We're just talking about Kim Jung Gi and the process of seeing things in 3 dimensions. And also why Kim Jung Gi is very hard for AI to train off of is because his drawing has intent. And what AI lacks is the human experience to create what Kim Jung Gi can do. Because the only way for a person to create vivid imagery like this is through experience in life. Everybody's got their own personal experience. And that is why experiences also plays a role in the art style. Isn't that neat? I can't gush over Kim Jung Gi enough, man, because he's just an amazing artist. If you haven't already, go study Kim Jung Gi. There is a reason why he's the GOAT. And until now, I haven't seen anyone that can do what Kim Jung Gi does. I'm sure there are people out there, but Kim Jung Gi is just on another level. The way he can perceive space, completely changed and it's still mourning his loss, chat. Daddy Kim, can we have Kim's in the chat? Look at that. That's just a sketchbook. I saw him in 2015 in Icon Manila. I didn't know him that well, so I didn't buy his book. Also, I didn't have any money, so I couldn't buy his book. My biggest regret in life was not buying his book. And, well, if you bought his book, he would draw on it. It was only 4,000 pesos. Why did I not have 4,000 pesos to buy the book? But yes, also another interesting thing about Kim Jung Gi, though, is the way he uses lines to bring focus to things that need to be brought into focus and to make things that don't need focusing on disappear. Notice how the background, there's almost no detail on it. Like if you would zoom in here, he would just give hints that there's a building there, there's a tree there. But as soon as you come closer to the canvas, look at the way this tapers towards the viewer. And then it just guides you in. This drawing just makes you feel like you're following the crowd. I think this is Kim Jung Gi. And the composition game also in Kim Jung Gi is super strong, man. His explanation when it comes to drawing, like I'm sorry if I'm talking about Kim Jung Gi right now, but his explanation when it comes to drawing an entire place is to put yourself in the location. That's why when he drew this, he actually drew mini Kims all over the place. I'm gonna draw it all, he says. And look at the amount of detail he put in on the middle. If you squint your eyes, you can distinguish the form and the background just melts away. If you're an amateur, you would put details on every building you see. The problem with putting details on everything is there is no focus. That is also another lesson that I should be teaching one of these days. Line has weight. That's why they call it line weight. The thicker the line, the more it attracts attention. There might never be another Kim Jung Gi in the future. There's going to be just one Kim Jung Gi. I'm never going to be a Kim Jung Gi, but you know what? I'm going to be a better version of myself. Gotta make Kim Jung Gi proud, baby.